I wished I had given more into my marriage. I wished I had been closer to my sisters. I wished I had called my friends more often. I wish. Is that what you're going to be doing? Or are you going to be, you know what? I didn't do everything perfect. I blundered here. This was bad. This was good. This I did great. That I didn't do great. Whatever. I gave it my best shot. I tried my hardest. And have that feeling of satisfaction that you gave it your all. That's what we're going to be talking about. If it's true that we want to bring out our best self, how do we do that? And why should we do that? So the Vilna Gaon teaches that the reason Hashem created us in the first place is to work on ourselves, to grow, and to be the best people we can be. He adds that the purpose of a person's existence is to constantly work on breaking bad middos, if not middos or character traits. If not, what is his life worth? That's the Vilna Gaon. That's not Leah Richeimer saying, hey, you ought to do this. This is the Vilna Gaon saying, this is the secret. This is the key to maximize your potential on this planet. Okay? And it starts with your relationship with your husband. We're going to get into how that works. Okay. The Shlach HaKodesh writes that correcting one's defects is the very reason that our soul was sent to this world. You ready? Okay, good. Here we go. So how do we do that? What actions do we need to take to fulfill our mission in this world? So I actually had a student who I talked extensively about a story that happened to her, and I figured this is like a brilliant example of somebody who was really handed lemons and made lemonade. What's a better? That's like so cliche, but you know what I mean. Like, but you know what I mean. Like they had a really rough childhood, and they made the best of it. So I wanted to tell you the story because I felt like it would give us all strength to be able to see, where do I fit in? What can I do to be that? How can I? Whatever you're handed in life, we all have a deck of cards, right? And we all are handed, goods, bad, different, whatever it is. We're handed this stuff. Are we going to like make the best of it, or are we going to just be victims to it and like have no choice or no future, except for reacting to that? Okay, fine. Okay, so here's the story. So my student's name is Aviva, and she told me this whole drama, whatever. And she said that about, a bunch of years ago, she went to New York. Her husband was getting a master's degree. She said, I was pregnant out to here, and I had a 2-year-old. So I felt like I was never going to make friends. It was in the middle of winter or something like that. And she couldn't go anywhere, couldn't come, very easily. But one night she forced herself, she's going to go to this event at the shul around the corner from where she lived or whatever. She left the baby with a baby, whatever, with somebody, and a stranger, I don't know, whatever. She got a baby, and she went. And before she went, she was deciding, should I dress fancy? Should I dress casual? And she said, probably it's a night thing with a bunch of women. I'm going to dress casual. I don't want to like come all dutied up and like everyone else, look like, oh, who does she think she is? So she dressed very, very casual. She showed up. Guess what?
Everyone was dressed fancy.
Thank you. Everybody was wearing matching whatever. So she immediately wanted to crawl under a rock. She wanted to leave. Not happy there, whatever, and she kind of like was shuffling around, and she was figuring, how can I get out of this room without anyone noticing? Finally, somebody clocks her, a lady named Stacy, and the names have been changed to alter the identity of whatever. Stacy comes over to her and says, oh, hi, I didn't see you here before. What's your name? Oh, where are you from? Why are you here? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, you have a 2-year-old. Where is she going to school? All that stuff. Fine. She introduced her, Aviva, my student, to everybody in the room. She made her feel comfortable. She called her and moved her seat. Isn't that the sweetest thing ever? Really sweet. She moved her over there, and she was there. She totally took care of her, and Aviva was like so grateful to her. And then the next day, Stacy called, want to go to Target? Where is Target? I'll show you. You got to try this bakery. And she just acclimated her in and made her feel totally like yum, and like moved her in the most comfortable way possible for a pregnant lady. It's just very, very sweet. So the problems started happening because she felt like wherever she went to this wedding, she went to that party, she went to that event, Stacy was there like by her side, which was kind of, she felt a huge debt of gratitude to Stacy, But at the same time, she's like, she's
Spread my wings.
spread my wings, but also clingy, like really, really clingy. And, and like, what time are you going? Well, when are you leaving? Stacey would be like, when are you leaving? When are you going to get there? Well, why don't you, if you get there first, save me a seat right next to you. And she's like, what is this? Like, it just feels like junior high school, like whatever. And this is really bothering her. And she finally said, if it's a real relationship, it can take some conflict and you can, have a conversation about it. So fine. So Aviva said they're going on this thing that was a little far away. Is my earring falling off? Yes.
No, that was it.
Oh, yeah, it really was. I'm glad I didn't lose these. I love these. So she's there. She said they're going in this car. They're gonna have this really nice conversation, and she's gonna bring it up as easily as possible. So fine. So she said, I really am so grateful to you for everything you did for me and for bringing me in and welcoming me in. And I'm really, whatever. I had to talk to you about something, and I knew you'd be upset if shoe was on the other foot. You would tell me. So I'm going to tell you. And Stacey's like, yeah, of course, by all means, tell me. I want to hear. So she says, fine. So she says, she said, I really couldn't get it out. She said, I love being with you. I love you. But sometimes I feel like you're just a little, I hate the word clingy because sounds so mean, but I can't think of a better word. So Stacey's like face, she said, I thought like I had like punched her in the gut. And Stacey says, I hear. Let me tell you a story. And this is what Stacey told her. And I'm going to try not to cry. She said, when I was a girl, she said, I went to public school, and there was like a popularity contest, and I was whatever the bottom, like below the bottom of the bottom. And she said, this is Stacey talking now. She said, I was like, it was so bad that like I would walk, go through the lunch line, bring my lunch, whatever, and I would walk into the cafeteria, and like there were like, let's say on the bench, there were like three spots, 1, 2, 3. The two people would sort of move their seats quickly to make it look like the booth was taken. And she said, one time I'm standing there and there was a bunch of, really popular girls or whatever, but we were all standing there waiting for class. So otherwise I wasn't like accepted in that clique, but we were all waiting to go into class and I was just standing there. And anyways, this popular girl made a really big joke and everybody laughed. And I laughed because it was funny and I laughed. She turned to me and said, what are you laughing at? What are you laughing at? I couldn't even eat my lunch in the cafeteria anymore. I used to eat it in the bathroom. This is Stacey talking. This is like, oh. And Aviva said, I was just horrified. She said, I back in those days, there wasn't such a thing as bullying. I mean, there wasn't like teachers aware of it. There wasn't, and it was obviously bullying. But I was at the bottom of the totem pole. And at that point, and this is the lesson for us, this is where we can sort of see where greatness comes from. She said, at that point, I made the decision. I'm going to be that person that never lets someone feel left out. I knew how it feels. I'm uniquely qualified to have a radar for this, and I am going to be that person where it is there's never going to be, in my presence, there's never going to be somebody who feels that awkward feeling. And I made it my business. And in fact, I taught it to my kids, both my kids. One's geo head, one's the head of the school paper. All my kids are leaders in what they do. Why? Because our family motto is, if anyone in the room feels left out, we all are left out. And that leadership quality, which I worked so hard on myself, and I worked so hard to train my kids got, with me, I'm sorry to tell you, Aviva, but as much as I have tried to grow out of feeling like the loser in the room or whatever, I've never been able to break it. My actions, I'm out there. I do what I can in that way, but I never got over that feeling of inferiority, and I work on it very hard, and I've gotten so much better. Believe me, I understand the clinginess, and I'm sorry for it. And I'm sorry for it how it made you feel and the ramifications, and I should have probably known better, but I hope you'll forgive me.
Wow.
So Aviva said they were in the car dumbfounded. She was kind of like 3 shades of green, like she didn't even know what to do with herself. And she said, can I ask you a question? Did any of those girls ever like come back and apologize to you? And Stacy said, it's funny you should ask. There was a woman who also became religious, whatever. She moved to Israel or whatever. And about, 7 years ago, I get a call from her. And this was like the most popular girl. She was like the it girl of the whole school, And she called me, and I was like really uncomfortable that she called me. And I had a feeling, this is the only reason she would have called me to ask forgiveness, whatever. It was right before Yom Kippur, so I just felt like, maybe she, whatever. And she called me, and she said that her daughter for the last 3 years has been totally bullied in her class. And she said she kept davening and crying her eyes out because her daughter's growing up with all these complexes and feeling inferior and feeling like, I can't even do my homework, Mom, and someone like me. I mean, she really's got a low self-esteem from this, and is really suffering a lot. And I suddenly realized, oh my goodness, mida kedeged mida, how do you translate that?
Yeah.
Measure for, thank you. Measure for measure, I'm being punished for what I did to you. And so I'm calling you now to ask you complete mechila, not just for my daughter, but because I really want mechila from you. So Aviva said, what did you say to her? And she said, look, this is Stacy. She said, what could I say? What could I say to her? I mean, I didn't really have a choice. I said, yeah, I forgive you. I did not feel it at all, like zero. But what am I going to say? No, and ruin her life and her daughter's life and whatever? I said, okay, yes, you have my forgiveness. And she said, and then Aviva told me that Stacy, she followed up, whatever. But she said that her ability, that was healing to her, to know that lady at least got it, but still, this was the problem. So what do we learn from this story? I've got to check my notes because, okay, so it's powerful.
Yeah.
What did you say?
It catches up to you.
It catches up to you. That's one of the things. What else?
Share with us, ladies, if you have any comments.
If you have any comments on what we learned in terms of
Elisa
bringing...
said it sounds like codependency when she was attaching herself to that person. But when you hear that whole story, you have a little bit more of an insight as to why she acted that way.
Right. And the issue is, how did Stacy brought out her best self, right? I mean, I find this story, like, I want to go take Stacy out to lunch. Like, who is this lady who is able to take lemons and make lemonade? I mean, it's just incredible. And we can all have the power to do this. And we're going to go through exactly how to do it. I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions on how to do it. We wanted to see what is it that you can do, what we can all do to take whatever we're handed. So the couple of things that we take home messages are, one, that Stacy somehow recognized that she had a choice in the matter. That she wasn't a victim to this happened, and she was the low person on the totem pole, and she was, the unpopular girl, and that's just the way life was. Somehow she realized, okay, what am I going to do with this? And her choice, she made the decision, I am going to be that person who never lets that happen to anybody else. Very powerful. It's like taking the best of the best. Next thing is that this is one thing. This is the quote that Aviva told me that I wanted to give over, that no one in the room can truly be happy unless everyone else in the room is happy. I love that. I love that. So here is the take-home message from that story, is that we all have the ability to choose and to create our future, not based on our past. That's what she did. That's what she had the power to do. And that's going to be the secret and the core to bringing out our best self. So let's talk about the action steps. The action steps are number one, to break free. And that is to recognize that your past is not your future. You don't have to be a victim to how you've always been, or how you've always been treated, or how your husband's always been this way. And you just know him to be this certain individual, and that's it. And you have him in a box, and no, he'd never do that. I just talked to a woman last week, and I was talking to her about the fact that, she said, oh, no, my husband, he walks in the door, he doesn't care about me, he doesn't care about the kids, he doesn't care about anything. He doesn't, and she said, and it starts off, he walks in the door, it always is on the wrong foot. Why? Because, if he's not going to be loving enough to greet us when he walks in the door, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I really, it's beyond me. I said, listen, for 3 days, I want you to run, not to the front door. We all know you're supposed to run to the front door. Or, hi, dear. I want you to walk out to the sidewalk and get your husband. She looked at me like I was insane. Actually, how can you look at someone on the phone? It was a phone call. It felt like she felt it, right? It was like bzzz, right through the thing. So she actually did this, and I called her because I wanted to see whatever. Actually, I wanted the story for you guys to hear what is possible. She said it's a miracle in her house. Her husband walks in the door, and I said, how long has he not walked in the door and said hello? And she said, I don't even remember the last time. I mean, my guess is 10 years old. My kid is 12. So when he was 2 was the last time he walked in and said hello. And he has started walking in and saying hello. There is never a box that holds so tightly that your future can't break out of your past. We can all do it. And it takes thinking, and it takes planning and figuring out and pulling tricks out of our sleeve, like going to the sidewalk to say hello. Whatever it is, we can break out of our past. So, and it's a decision. Okay. Second is to choose greatness. We all sort of have a picture of ourselves. We see ourselves in the mirror. We, if anyone has ever mourned a parent and you haven't looked in a mirror for 7 days, is it 7 days?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think it's 7 days.
But thank God.
Thank God. We should never know from this or whatever. But you look in the mirror and you're like, you look different. It's a Jewish tradition to cover the mirrors in the time of mourning for the 7 days after a parent dies. And there's something very, very spiritually deep about your sense of yourself without a mirror. And there's a freedom of like growing yourself in a way that's different than who you always know yourself to be. It's a mind game to get yourself over somewhere else. Each one of us has the ability to sort of shoot out there and say, I'd like to be like this. It's Elul now, right? It's time at a time of renewal, time of thinking about what do we want to improve in ourselves. This improving ourselves is achievable if we recognize that we have a choice in who we want to become. And this, in other words, if you don't have that, and then it's just like, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to stop yelling at the kids. I'm going to, whatever it is but it's kind of like on top of this mush of I'm really who I am and who I've always been. And I've already made these commitments in the past and never kept them. But the way beyond and the way to bring out the best self is to choose a greatness for yourself outside of the box of the realm of what you think is possible. By the way, I look at both these cameras. Is that what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
I feel like these people feel like I'm looking at them. They feel like I'm
both Instagram and Facebook sees you. Actually, when you're looking, it looks like...
When I look at this, it looks
like you're looking at that.
So I don't have to make myself crazy, make sure I'm paying attention. Everything has to be fair. I do it. Okay, fine. Okay, just...
The Instagram people are getting you fair and...
Okay, all right, fine. Okay, good. Okay, fine. Okay, so when you are creating yourself and choosing greatness, you want to go outside the box of what you think is possible for yourself. So if you're a very big introvert, but you really want to have more guests for Shabbos, something like that, choose something that you wouldn't otherwise think would be possible for yourself. Now, there's a whole big thing about Elul planning, which is that you're trying to, you pick what you're going to do. Okay, I'm going to stop yelling at my kids. And then you cut it in half, 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 whatever. I'm going to, one time this month, not yell at my kids. Okay, that's really the rule of thumb. But by the same token, if you don't in your head have created for yourself that it's possible of what you can accomplish, if you don't, what do you say? You have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe that it's possible, and you have to take the story of this Aviva, who was the lowest of the low in the totem pole of her high school, okay? And she created herself to be an extraordinary woman, both for what she did. Stacy, sorry.
By the way, I'm so proud of myself.
What's that?
I'm getting a medal. because you said Aviva, and I'm like, it's Stacy. And I'm like, but Leah said, when your husband says something, and even if he says Moshe when he's supposed to say Noach, you keep quiet and you don't say anything. And I'm like, Leah's like my husband in this show. So I'm not saying anything, and I'm going to keep quiet. And
it's so cute.
I did
Yasher Koch, you did it. You was Go, sorry. Okay, so but here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. With me, I want you to do it because
I did it with someone.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. But here, I want you to whatever. Okay, so fine. Okay, so I wanted to give you an example of something that's choosing greatness. So here's one thing that you have to know. I've been teaching Shalom Bayis for a couple of decades, okay? Here's one rule that I've always found, which is how a woman treats her husband is the greatest predictor of how her husband will treat her. It's not a one-on-one. It's not like, if you're really so sweet to your husband, he's going to be so sweet to you. But it's the greatest predictor to how he treats you is how you treat him. And it is such a forgotten, it's like, come on, a forgotten art. But also, it's kind of like, he lives here. It's like we take him for granted. Whatever. I'm telling you, if you can bump up, if what you choose to embrace greatness, if you can bump up how you treat your husband, I'm telling you right now, your life is going to be better starting right now. There is no power in the universe that can create more sweetness and joy in your life than you treating your husband well and him reciprocating. It might take time. It may time, and also you might do it and expect so much that he feels a weird vibe, so it doesn't work. It's not like you have to snap. It's not just snapping your fingers. You have to think about it. You have to be thoughtful. What am I going to treat him better? Well, you know what is I always when I'm done eating, I jump up from the table because I just can't sit there, and he takes longer to eat than I do. What would be a nice thing to do? Maybe get yourself a cup of tea and sit back down. Maybe get yourself some cookies. I give you permission, chocolate. It won't even have any calories because God will take the calories away because you're doing such a nice thing for your husband. Whatever you need to plan out to do nice things for your husband, I promise you it'll come back to you. You may not see it directly, but we have a guarantee from our sources. We have a guarantee that any kindness you do for your husband comes back to you in 10,000-fold. So whether that's your kid does better in school or whether the car doesn't break down or whatever, it will come back to you. Hopefully in your husband treating you better. That's the most likely way. But again, this is an odds game. Your greatest odds of having your husband treat you well is treating him well. Okay, let's go on to... And what'd you say?
Make him cookies.
Cookies. Right, there you go. There you go. Okay. Now, the third one, this is the third step for bringing out your best self, is know what is meaningful to you. So when you are making this change, you have to recognize what you're aiming for. We are so conditioned in this society to aim for what sort of how do you call it? I'm going to say media, but it's kind of like the whole culture is to be richer and to have more stuff and to buy more stuff and to buy the right stuff and to buy the cool stuff and to be hip and in and know the latest and all that stuff. It's like this drive. It's almost like if you had to ask an advertising agent guru, genius, what would be your dream thing? It's like, to get everybody to want to do the same thing and spend money on my client's thing. That's what the whole drive of the economy is. It's fantastic. We live in the greatest economy in the planet Earth ever that was, and with more distribution of wealth than ever was. It's fantastic. However, when it comes to personal growth, it really steps in the way. It kind of blocks us. It's exactly the chiller to our personal growth. So you have to understand what's most important to you. And if I were to ask anybody, and I were to take you out and sit down with you privately, and I were to say, listen, what would you rather have? A brand new car, a Tesla or something, whatever. Or I don't want to say whatever. Oh, yeah, we need sponsors. So if Tesla, if you want, whatever, we'll go to the moon for you. There you go. So, okay, so fine. But anyway, whatever it is, if you were to say, okay, you can have an absolute brand new, gorgeous car, or a best friend who's got your backside, who's there for you when you're down, who takes you to Target or whatever, does stuff for you like this lady Stacy, and she's got your backside. If you had to choose between those two, and you were asked at a deep level, every one of us would choose a good friend. Right? And what do we spend all our time doing? Looking for the car. We're looking for the car. So you have to, on a deep way, if you want to maximize your potential and you want to bring out your best self, you have to think about what's going to be most meaningful to you. Is it because of what society's telling you? Is it because of what your social circles are telling you you should want and you should go for? Or is it deep down, and this might take some introspection. There's Hebodidus, where you go out into the forest and you talk to yourself or whatever. I don't recommend this at home unless you have good good direction on how to do this. But I'm just saying that this takes thought. This takes thought to understand what's going to be most meaningful to you. Okay, the last one, the last step for bringing out your best self is to make a plan. So many ideas that we have, and even sometimes people make their New Year's resolutions and they're all excited about them, but they have no plan. Without a plan, it's nothing. I hate that cliche, but it's right on the nose. What is it? You can either plan to fail. If you don't fail, wait. If you fail to plan, then you fail. Oh, yeah, if you fail to plan, thank you. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So you really need a plan. So let me tell you what that kind of can look like. Okay. So first of all, you want to write down what your goal is. What is the thing that you're going to be working on? Like, for instance, Aviva, Stacy worked on one thing. She worked on being that person that always was there in the room, making sure everybody was happy. That was her one goal. If she had 1,000 goals, and I also want to be the prettiest and dress the snazziest and the most articulate and the most well-read or the most worldly and know the most latest events and knows about politics, if she had all those things, she wouldn't have been able to accomplish this. You need one thing. So just work on one thing that you really want to shift and grow yourself into being who you want to be. So the first thing is to set a goal. Next thing is to understand why you have that goal. It was very, very clear to me that Stacy had that goal because she knew she didn't want other people to suffer pain. And the side benefit was she also became much more social herself and became, when Aviva was telling me the story, she said that Stacy knew everyone in the room and introduced her to everyone in the room. That's not the least popular person in the high school, is it? How did she get there? From being the one that everyone's trying not to sit at the table to being the one that knows everybody and that's introducing everybody. That's pretty awesome. She grew herself into that, or maybe that was a gift God gave her because she worked so hard to make everybody feel included. So you have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. What you have to choose it and then understand why. The next thing is to write down the obstacles that you see to this happening, and there's many. First biggest one is sabotage. Sabotage. You'll sabotage yourself in terms of, just getting discouraged, like, I just can't do this, and I'm not that person, and I thought I was that person. That's why they say, whatever goal you have, cut it in half and cut it in half and cut it in half. But for this, when Stacy first walked in, I need a big, huge plaque. Stacy with flashing. When Stacy had, walked into a room the first time that she had this mission, I bet you it was pretty awkward. I bet you that she, you know what I'm saying? I bet she had she's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm too small for this. Whatever. She kept persevering. That person who was like the social butterfly introducing Aviva to all the other people, that wasn't an overnight success. That was probably years of work. So you need to not get discouraged. You need to not sabotage yourself. You need to not get distracted by other tasks. And here's the biggie. You need to reward yourself generously. So as you're growing in this, and the more creative and weird you get about these things, the more successful they are. So for instance, if you say, if you're Aviva and you're like, okay, I'm going to be out there in the thing, at the social gathering, and you go there and you feel awkward and you whatever, and you're like, for every person I go say hello to, I get $5 in my mad money. You're going to do it. You're going to kind of laugh to yourself or whatever. You got to think outside the box. If you're going to lose 10 pounds and you lose 3, reward yourself. probably not with chocolate, if that's what, but with a dress or with a new nail polish or whatever it is that suits your fancy. Let me think what else examples I had. Okay, so I have a lot of women who come to me and they say, I'm stuck in my relationship with my husband in trust, or I'm stuck in being, I feel like I see him in a certain way. Like when we first got married, he did some very wimpy things, and now I kind of think of him as a wimp, and he can't like ever sort of go out of my head in that. And then my sister also thinks he's a wimp. Don't talk to your sister about your husband saying derogatory things. By the way, that's a very crucial breach of lashon hara, of gossiping. But anyway, so whatever it is, they're stuck in their things. So say, if I can learn to trust my husband more. Instead of, he says, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna go buy such and such a air conditioner," and you're like, that's an off-brand. That's like I would never buy one that wasn't XYZ kind, or he's going off to do something, and you want to tell him how he should do it better, and you say, "That's fine, dear. Good luck." You get a reward. And whether that reward is mad money that you put from one envelope to the other, you have cash from the bank, you put it there, and then you have an envelope called mad money, and you put $5 in, or $10 in, or $20, whatever it is that is going to get you motivated. Or whether it's you're like, okay, if I trust my husband when I'm not feeling trustworthy, I get to have half an hour of complete off. Like I'm setting the alarm at 2:00 in the afternoon, or if you work, then whatever, 4 in the or 7:00 at night, and I've got downtime. I can do whatever I want for half an hour. But no work, no dishes, no answering stressful emails, no this that. It has to be something fun, a video game. Did we say that here? Whatever, something that's mindless, that whatever, coloring, this whole big thing that's in vogue now is adult coloring books. So awesome. They've got the big flower baskets, and you get these crayons. But anyway, the thing is, it's a big rage. It's adorable. I'm going to color. I get to color for half an hour. So rewards are integral to our own growth. We don't spend enough time thinking of rewards for ourselves. We feel guilty, we feel selfish, but they get us where we need to be. Our neshama, which are our holy soul, always wants to do the right thing. We want to grow. We want to be the best. We want to be elevated. Our body drags us down, and like that. What we want to do when our soul convinces our body to do the right thing, we need to reward our body. The guf needs pleasure things. It needs chocolate. It needs a beautiful walk in the park. It needs coloring books. It needs new polish, new shoes. How's that for one? Okay, you do that. You get to go. You buy yourself a new pair of shoes. Okay, where you're going to put them, I don't know, but that's your problem. Okay, so rewards. And then the last part of this of making a plan is to recognize that there's a trial and error in this, that you're doing, that you're going to try this, it's not going to work, and try that, and to see what works. That's the basic thing. Okay, very good. I'm going to go to a wrap up unless I have any questions. No, good. Okay, fine. Okay. So here's Leah's secret of the day: the 4 action steps to bring out your best self. Number 1, break free. Realize your past is not your future. Is that awesome? Can you imagine how much freedom there is? Your past is not your future. Number 2, choose greatness. So go outside of what you think you can do. Be creative. Let it go. Choose greatness. And for yourself, that's thinking of where you think you could never be. I'm sure any of the girls who are in the high school where Stacy. Oh, what a block, mental block. In that school, if they had voted who's going to be the one, the leader of her, a leader in her community, she would not be voted in. Think outside of yourself. Okay, number 3, know what is meaningful to you. What is your definition of success? Not society's, not your peer group. What is your definition of success? And that usually has something to do with your closeness to your husband and your closeness to people. in your family. Okay, I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be that. You have to find your own meaning in it, but usually it has to do with connection and relationships. And the last one is to make a plan, and most importantly, write it down. People who write plans down have, I read this, I don't know if it's true, a 42% better chance of doing their goal. I would think it would be much higher than 42%, so I was not happy with that statistic, but I would think like double or triple or quadruple. Okay, the homework for the week. Here is where we are going to visualize after 120. You're thinking back in your life. Who do you wish you had created yourself to be? If looking back, you're looking back at your whole life, and is it like, again, as we said, are you regretting it or are you feeling satisfied? So in order to think about looking back, you have to think about, who do I want to be now? And create that plan now for who you want to be.
Lisa actually said that you gave some really good ideas of rewards that don't cost money, because if she rewarded herself too much, she'd be broke. And it was actually what I was thinking. I'd be like a half hour of coloring, it'd be like a half hour of online shopping. And all the Amazon boxes that would come would not help my marriage at all. So they would have got that idea. Right. And she said also good self-care tips.
Yeah,
so
that's good. Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing.
Yourself.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being here this week, and we will see you. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show.
Yes,
we'll
make sure to share this show with your friends. Let them know about it, and come on every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. We are on.
We'll see you next session. Be well.